Still at a loss for words, I gently embraced my granddaughter. "I'm sorry. Mommy is." With a trembling voice, I explained that her mother had gone to a faraway place. It was a harsh reality for a 10-year-old girl. No matter how she reacted, I was determined to support her. Upon learning what had happened to her mother, my granddaughter suddenly broke the photo frame in the living room. The acrylic frame held a family photo of me, my daughter and her husband, and Jamie. The frame, held together only at the corners, fell apart easily with just a little force from the young girl. The photo fluttered to the floor. Not understanding her actions, I raised my voice. "Stop it! That's a precious memory from our family trip." But Mommy told me to look at the back of this. Unfazed, she picked up the fallen photo. She was a child with an innocent smile, yet she occasionally said things that seemed oddly mature. Could it be that my daughter's spirit had appeared to her and told her to do this? No, she told me if something happened to her, I should look at the back of this photo. My granddaughter smiled and handed me the photo. Still confused, I looked at it closely. My name is Amy. Until recently, I was the CEO of a fashion brand. As I sat at my usual diner for a Saturday lunch, I reflected on events from a few months ago. It was a chilly, rainy spring day. When I told my daughter, Miranda, on my 67th birthday, I think I should retire as CEO, she was strongly opposed. I had always been there for Miranda, offering advice, and I prided myself on being her confidant. I believed she understood me just as well, so her reaction surprised me. "Miranda, new times and trends are created by new generations. But Mom, I want you to take over the company. You'll make it even better." I looked at her with conviction, knowing she had a keen sense for trends. "All right. Since it's the company you cherished, I'll make it even bigger." Her determined spirit reminded me of her late father. He had the same enthusiasm when he promised, "I will definitely make you happy," shortly after we started the company. Just as we were savoring the joy of our daughter's birth, he was tragically killed in an accident. The separation was so sudden that I couldn't even grieve properly, instead blaming myself. But I had Miranda. She gave me the strength to go on, to raise and protect her. Without her, I wouldn't have made it this far. As a single mother managing a business, I worked tirelessly. I was relieved to see her through college. The once fragile shoulders were now taller and dependable. She's now dedicated to the company, often seeking my advice on difficult decisions. Today, she called me to discuss her concerns about a rival company. "Mom, sorry to keep you waiting. Have you ordered yet?" "I'm still deciding." We browsed the menu together and placed our order using the touch panel on the table. Miranda's demeanor changed sharply, assuming her CEO persona. "So, about Sarah." Sarah was a classmate of Miranda's and the CEO of a rival company. They met in college and remained in touch after graduation and marriage. I had met Sarah a few times. She seemed gentle and had a remarkable sense of style. She started her own company, becoming a fierce yet friendly competitor to my daughter. But lately, something seemed off with Sarah. She suddenly became distant. "Do you have any idea why?" "Yeah. She even blocked me on social media. I don't know what to do." Miranda took a big bite of her special fried chicken lunch set, dipping it generously in tartar sauce. As she chewed, she asked, "What do you think?" We'd had similar conversations before. But neither of us ever imagined her falling out with a close friend from school. Meeting in person to talk would be ideal, but it seemed that was difficult. And there's also the issue with David. Miranda's face clouded with worry. David was her husband and also served as the executive director. Recently, he's been making so many mistakes at work, and I have to cover for him constantly. "Really?" "Yes. He forgets documents for meetings with clients, shows up late with bed hair. It's been a series of mishaps." The list of David's blunders continued, adding to Miranda's stress. "I appreciate everything you've done, Mom. Raising me and running the company. I really respect you. But she continued, looking down. That's why I want to run your company properly. I can't stand seeing it messed up because of him. After finishing our meal, we stepped outside. Basking in the early summer sunlight, I smiled and said, "He's doing his best. They say failure is the stepping stone to success. His time will come." Miranda, still unconvinced, pouted. About 2 weeks after our lunch, we had a family gathering. Our family meets for a meal on the third Saturday of each month. I always looked forward to these gatherings. Since my husband passed away, I had grown distant from my relatives, and I didn't have friends nearby. After retiring as CEO, I hardly spoke to anyone, making these meals even more precious. Eagerly, I left home and arrived at the venue 30 minutes early. The restaurant was a slightly upscale Taiwanese place, renowned as a hidden gem. Seeing my excitement, the staff couldn't help but smile. Oh dear, I'm too early. I was shown to a reserved table, waiting for my daughters to arrive. Glancing out the window, I saw someone walking briskly under the street trees. It was Sarah. I leaned forward but could only watch her through the glass. Ever since Miranda mentioned her, she had been on my mind. Nothing about her brisk walk revealed anything, but I wondered how she felt about Miranda. As CEOs in the same industry, you would think they would have much in common. I didn't have many friends like that, but I rarely had conflicts either. Understanding Sarah's and Miranda's feelings was challenging for me. As I pondered this, Miranda and the others arrived, surprised to see me. "Mom? You're really early." "Oh, I guess I got the time wrong." I laughed awkwardly and urged them to take their seats. Miranda, her husband David, and their daughter Jamie each took a seat. Jamie turned 10 this year. She had an innocent smile but sometimes spoke with surprising maturity. We opened the menus and each ordered our favorite dishes and sides. "Grandma, I don't have any cavities." Jamie smiled, showing her perfectly aligned teeth. "Really? That's great. You're brushing well." "Yep. I brush my teeth every morning and night." Jamie puffed out her chest proudly. She looked so adorable that it warmed my heart. "Daddy has cavities even though he's an adult. 6 of them." She glanced at David and giggled. Now, don't tease the grown-ups." David smiled as he spoke. I had heard about his mistakes at work and thought he might be feeling down. But he seemed cheerful and was smiling the whole time. I also worried about the relationship between Miranda and David, but they were chatting happily. "Daddy, make sure you brush your teeth properly." "I do. I even use an electric toothbrush." They laughed and talked, looking like a happy family. It made me think maybe I shouldn't take Miranda's concerns too seriously. Just then, our food arrived. The table was filled with our 4 meals: stir-fried rice noodles, sautéed greens, and a large salad. "Everyone, eat up!" "Mom, there's no way we can eat all this." "Don't worry." "Right, Jamie, you don't have any dislikes, do you?" "I don't like bell peppers." "Are there bell peppers in this stir-fry?" She peered into the dish suspiciously, making David laugh. "If there are, I'll eat them for you." "But you don't like bell peppers either, Daddy." "I know that." Her observation made Miranda and me laugh. It was a surprising revelation about David. Blushing, he laughed and said, "That's not true," as he dug into his braised pork rice. Amid the lively atmosphere, I glanced around the restaurant. It was bustling with lunchtime crowds. The staff were busy setting tables and guiding customers. In the kitchen, pans were sizzling, and dishes were being prepared non-stop. A burly man, likely the head chef, shouted, "Pot stickers for table 7." A female staff member heard the call and quickly brought the dish. She conveyed a sense of urgency to deliver the food while it was still hot. "This is a nice place. The food is delicious too." I sipped my tea and said, "Yes, and the atmosphere is great. But I still think my wife's cooking is the best." "What are you saying?" Miranda smiled shyly, clearly pleased by his compliment. It was a heartwarming moment until my granddaughter spoke up. Liar. What? Everyone froze at her words. The lively sounds of the restaurant seemed to vanish, replaced by an odd silence. The three of us stared at Jamie. Jamie, what did you just say? I asked, my smile stiffening. I said Daddy's a liar. He always leaves Mommy's cooking uneaten. That's because I sometimes eat too many snacks before dinner. David awkwardly tried to explain, but Jamie gave him a doubtful look. Then, her expression quickly changed to a playful one, and she laughed. Really? Daddy, that's bad. That's right. Jamie always holds back. From now on, Daddy is banned from snacks. Oh, come on. Laughter filled the air again, and the three of them were all smiles. The noise of the restaurant returned, and the lively atmosphere resumed. We finished our meal with ice cream for dessert and wrapped up the family gathering. As we were about to leave, I said goodbye to Miranda and her family. Thank you for the meal, Grandma. Bye-bye. See you, Jamie. She waved her little hand vigorously and ran off in the opposite direction of my way home. I wondered what I had witnessed in her today. Miranda and David's nervous smiles when they said, "She's always like that," were also troubling. Mom, see you next month. We'll treat you next time. With those words, they disappeared into the crowd with their daughter. We had our usual enjoyable meal and conversation. Saying goodbye brought the usual sense of lingering farewell. But there was now a tiny thorn of concern pricking at my mind. Miranda and I had said our usual see you next month, but that promise was soon broken. Just a few days after our gathering, my daughter was in a car accident. I rushed to the hospital, but it was too late. She was only 38. I can't believe it, why? She lay on the hospital bed, her eyes tightly closed. David came as well and quickly stepped out into the hallway, but I could hear his sobs. Both of us were engulfed in grief, unable to speak for a while. David, regaining his composure first, spoke to me with a tear-streaked face. I'm sorry, but I have a meeting soon. Could you pick up Jamie? Of course, you have a meeting. And I'll be busy for a while, so could you take care of Jamie for a bit? I simply replied, I understand. And watched him leave. The suddenness of it all left me in a daze. I wasn't strong enough to spring into action immediately after losing a loved one like he was. Memories of the days spent with my daughter flashed before my eyes. In those memories, I nearly overlooked my granddaughter. Jamie was on her way home from school and didn't know yet. How would I break the news to her? Confused, I headed to my daughter's house. Using the spare key from the mailbox, I let myself in and began preparing to take care of Jamie. Before long, she arrived. Grandma. She must have sensed something was wrong. Dropping her pastel-colored backpack in the living room, she approached me. Her usually innocent smile was absent, and she looked at me with a curious expression. Still at a loss for words, I gently embraced her. Jamie. I'm sorry. Mommy is. With a trembling voice, I told her that her mom had gone to a faraway place. It was a harsh reality for a 10-year-old girl. I was prepared to support her no matter her reaction. But she slipped out of my arms and picked up a photo frame in the living room. The acrylic frame held a family photo of me, my daughter and her husband, and Jamie. Jamie? She stared at it for a moment before suddenly breaking the frame. Held together only at the corners, it fell apart easily with just a little force from her. The photo fluttered to the floor. Not understanding her actions, I raised my voice. Stop it! That's a precious memory from our family trip. But Mommy told me to look at the back of this. Jamie, unfazed, picked up the fallen photo. Could it be that my daughter's spirit had appeared and told her to do this? No, Mommy told me to look at the back of this photo if something ever happened to her. My granddaughter smiled as she handed me the photo. Still puzzled, I turned it over. On the back, written in Miranda's handwriting, were the words, I am being targeted by my husband." It was clear she had hurriedly written it, trying to convey something. What did she mean by being targeted by her husband, David? I had never heard anything like this from Miranda. Did only Jamie and Miranda know about this? Could this message have something to do with Miranda's death? Could David have? He had shown no signs of anything like that and had just been at the hospital grieving her loss. My mind swirled with thoughts, and I felt increasingly confused. At that moment, David returned, muttering to himself. "Great, I left the documents here." Seizing the opportunity, I confronted him. "David, we need to talk. Please come here." "But I have a meeting." He seemed eager to avoid talking to me, almost as if he were hiding something. I held the photo with the message in front of him. "What is this?" He glanced at it and muttered, "Oh no." He quickly looked away, but I pressed him further. "Answer me. This is Miranda's handwriting." "I don't know. My wife just passed away, and now you're playing these cruel pranks?" "Miranda told Jamie to look at this if anything happened to her. Why don't you know about it?" Miranda. Clearly shaken, he started to sweat. No matter what I asked, he kept insisting he didn't know anything. Then, Jamie quietly spoke up from the side. "Of course Daddy doesn't know. Daddy and Mommy never talked at home." "Jamie, stop it. Mommy said Daddy never listens and that talking to him is a waste of time. But last time we saw them, they seemed to be getting along just fine. That was because they didn't want to worry you, Grandma. So they had been pretending to get along for my sake." "Jamie, that's enough. Stop lying. It's the truth. Daddy is a liar." "Who are you calling a liar?" David's anger flared, and he raised his fist. My granddaughter was about to be struck. I instinctively lunged at David, stopping him from hitting Jamie. "Stop. Don't you dare touch Jamie. Let go." He brought his raised fist down hard on my back. "Ouch! Grandma!" With a dull thud, I collapsed to the floor. Jamie rushed over, looking worriedly into my face, her eyes brimming with tears. If we stayed, both of us would be beaten. David was muttering something, his face flushed and his shoulders trembling. "It's all their fault, all of it." I didn't know who he was blaming, but I had to get us out of there. I got up and urged Jamie toward the door. "No. Grandma, come with me." Finally, tears streamed down her cheeks as she clung to me, crying. Meanwhile, David continued mumbling, getting more agitated. Holding my aching back, I crawled toward the front door. David noticed and grabbed a pair of scissors, shouting, "You won't get away." Just a few steps away from the door, I realized we wouldn't make it. I shielded Jamie and screamed, "Somebody help." At that moment, the door burst open, and someone stormed in. "Get out of here!" With a powerful shout, Sarah appeared. She used her briefcase as a shield, charging at David and knocking him back. Unable to dodge, David fell, landing on his rear. Sarah quickly followed up, pinning his arm behind his back and holding him down. "Give it up. I've called the police." "What have you done to them?" "Ouch. Who are you?" Jamie and I were too stunned to speak at the unexpected rescue. "Sarah. Why are you here?" "Oh, Auntie, it's been a while. Miranda asked me to look out for you too." Sarah explained that she had made a promise to Miranda. When Sarah's company hit a rough patch, she sought advice from Miranda on management strategies. Following Miranda's suggestions, Sarah's business gradually recovered. In gratitude, Sarah had offered her help if ever needed. Let's see, if anything happens to me, please take care of Jamie and my mom." Sarah hadn't fully understood at the time but had kept the promise in her heart. I knew Miranda had a knack for seeing things ahead. I believed something might happen eventually. She chuckled, adding, "Although, I hoped it would never come to this." I investigated what was happening around Miranda. She had hired a detective to look into things, and David's behavior had caught her attention. At first, it was natural to see something related to Miranda's husband, but soon it became clear something was very wrong. What do you mean? You're aware that Miranda had often covered for David's mistakes at work. Of course, I knew this. But how was it related? David groaned in frustration, shouting, "It's all her fault. Miranda always meddled, helping me as if it was her duty." It was infuriating. You felt that way? She wounded my pride. I'm the executive vice president. He was actually holding a grudge against Miranda for trying to help him. And he had a plan to take over the company because of that grudge. Exposed, David started to shout nonsense, becoming hysterical. Sarah held him down firmly. He continued to scream. The car accident today was a coincidence. I thought I got lucky. I thought it was my chance to take over the company. How could you say that? You were crying at the hospital. I had heard him sobbing. Was it all an act? An act? No, those were tears of joy. Instead of mourning Miranda's death, he was rejoicing at the opportunity it presented, crying tears of happiness. I was speechless with shock, but Jamie spoke clearly. You're the worst. You're not my dad anymore. Just then, the sound of police sirens filled the air. 2 police officers entered through the open door, one of them burly and imposing. David was quickly subdued and dragged away. While he was being taken away, the other officer listened to our explanation of the events. I must say, Sarah, that was quite the tackle. Well, I did karate as a kid. The officer promptly cautioned her against such risky actions in the future. For a while after, Jamie and I lived together. Messages of condolence poured in from Miranda's clients and friends, and Sarah attended the funeral. I felt grateful that we could all say goodbye to Miranda together. David, after being interrogated by the police, looked haggard when I saw him a few days later. A large bruise had formed on my back where he had struck me. With Sarah's encouragement, I went to the hospital, got a medical report, and submitted it where needed. Perhaps due to this, David was charged with assault. He's likely spending his time in prison now. I decided to adopt Jamie and raise her myself. Though my strength and willpower felt depleted, I knew I couldn't afford to collapse. I had to protect the child Miranda had left behind. Grandma will keep trying my best, I silently vowed as I watched Jamie sleep. After the ceremony, Sarah invited me for tea at a charming cafe near the station. There, she confessed that she didn't truly hate Miranda. Honestly, I was jealous of her. Jealousy? Why? Because no matter how hard I tried, I realized I could never surpass her. Sarah admitted this when she had sought Miranda's advice on management strategies. I felt envious and frustrated, and that's why I blocked her on social media and distanced myself. Taking a sip of her latte, she continued. But, deep down, I really respected her. She seemed a bit sad as she spoke, possibly regretting her actions in blocking Miranda on social media. If I had known it would come to this. I honestly wish I had reconciled with her. For Sarah, Miranda was both a rival and someone worthy of respect. Thank you for being my daughter's friend. She gave a shy smile. The conversation then turned to the future of my company. With both the president and vice president gone, it would be challenging to keep the company afloat. While I was temporarily managing it, I knew it couldn't last long. I was considering handing over the company to someone else. Please, let me take it over. Her offer took me by surprise, and I nearly spilled my coffee. I hadn't expected Sarah to make such a proposal. But I know it's a tough situation. But I want to protect the company that you and Miranda cherished so much. She thanked me and is pleading for the opportunity. I hesitated but was moved by her enthusiasm. All right. I'll discuss it with the board. Thank you so much. This decision brought us closer, and over the next few months, Sarah became like a daughter to me. We often had meals together, and she became a regular visitor at my home. Meanwhile, Jamie adjusted to life without her parents, showing little concern for her father. Though she struggled with Miranda's absence, she was slowly coming to terms with it. I, too, was still grappling with my grief but was determined to move forward. Sarah frequently visited to pay her respects at Miranda's altar and became close to Jamie. We often went out together, and today, we were enjoying a girls' day out at the diner where Miranda and I used to have lunch. "Sarah, guess what? I don't have any cavities," Jamie boasted, puffing out her chest proudly. As we shared laughter and stories, I silently wished for these peaceful days to continue.